With February being Heart Health Month and Valentine's Day, it seemed like a good time to share a little bit of information about women and their heart health and its link to the menopause. We've probably grown up hearing about the symptoms of heart disease or a heart attack and thought we've probably got a fairly clear idea of what might happen. But actually, as a woman, what you may experience or what somebody you know may be experiencing if they are having a heart attack is actually very different. So I wanted to share a little bit of information with you, just in case this is something that happens to you, just in case you're with a friend, just in case you need to know, because there's an awful lot of research that says the more you know, the more you understand, the quicker you can react, and the greater the chances of a positive outline. I'm not going to go all doom and gloom on you here. I'm just going to give you some really simple facts that I think might be helpful for you to know. So 1 in 2 women will die from heart disease. Okay, that's not a very smiley fact, is it? But you may not know that 1 in 8 women will die from breast cancer. And many people think it's all the cancers that we need to be aware of. But in fact, heart disease is still right up there as something that we need to be aware of. Now, historically, when information was sought about heart disease, all the tests, all the research was always done on men, and they thought that women were basically small men, smaller versions of, and therefore they took the results and shrunk them slightly and thought, well, that will do in a nutshell. But actually it doesn't do, because of the massive differences in a woman's body to a man's, and our estrogen or our hormone levels that go up and down. Actually, what we display is very, very different from a man's. So if I asked you to think, what do you know about the signs and symptoms of a heart attack? You'd probably say, oh, chest pain radiating down your left arm. They're the classic things, a crushing pain. Well, actually, for women, it can be very different. So hang on there a second. Women may actually experience their pain in their jaw. They may also experience pain in their upper back here. They may say that they're not sleeping, they're finding it really difficult to sleep. Now, that's something a lot of people say anyway. They may say that they've got this nervousness, this anxiety, again, something a lot of women have, that they don't seem to be able to put a reason on. They may be very gassy, very belchy, very muppy, all of those sorts of things. And they may be feeling sick. So none of those symptoms are the classic ones that you would expect to go hot-footing off to hospital with. So if in fact you've got this jaw pain and all of the other things going on, it's worth taking stock. Don't sit and think, just because I haven't got this crushing chest pain, that there's nothing wrong. There might be. Now, women tend not to be screened as well as men, and therefore, when they get to hospital, actually, the outcome could be very different. And there are some specific reasons for that, which I think are really interesting. Now, they did some tests on the fact that men will report to hospital. Let me see, I've written it down, between 1 hour 24 and 3 hours and a half, 3.5 hours, after they first notice something. So they first notice something, 1.5 hours to basically 3.5 hours, men will take themselves off to hospital and get checked out. And do you know what the times are for women? They're really different. This might really surprise you. It surprised me. 1 hour and 3/4, a woman might think, something's going on here, right up to 7 hours and 12 minutes. So what's she doing? She's thinking, still got to get the kids from school. I better put a slow cooker in the oven. I better do this. I better do that. She's not thinking, I might go hot-footing off to hospital. But that may be because she's not even recognizing that this ongoing jaw pain and this back pain is something to be worried about. So if you can identify those symptoms, perhaps you're more likely to make a quicker decision. I think it's really important that we spread this word about these symptoms being very different and that people understand them. Okay, but even when they get to hospital, 50% of women are more likely to be misdiagnosed. And that's because this disparity between men and women isn't particularly well known unless you're in a cardiac center. So it is something to, if you really feel something's not right, go back and ask again and again and again, so you get the right outcome. Now, sadly, in some units, the women are actually given fairly substandard treatment as well. They're not treated in the same ways as they would with a man, maybe because they don't actually think it's the same thing. And the other thing that's a real irritant, but it's really worth us knowing, because then we can do something about it. Smoking, diabetes, and a high blood pressure, we know that they make the risks and the outcome of a heart attack worse. But actually in women, 50% worse if you're a smoker, 80% worse if you have a high BP, and 50% worse if you've got type 2 diabetes than it is for a man. So it's even more important for us to be thinking about embracing these healthy lifestyles, which will help offset the already greater chances of heart disease. So let's look at some positive things. What can you do? We're already at higher risk, but what can we do to ameliorate, to calm those risks down? Well, you know from me, I'm always going to say it's all about movement and exercise. So make sure you aren't sat on your ass all day and not moving. Make sure you try and have movement snacks during the day. You go for a quick walk in the morning. I'm not saying you have to go off doing 10,000 steps first thing. If you can get them in during the day and little snacks, then fantastic. But movement's really important. If there is a risk in your family of high blood pressure, if you've ever been told you've got high blood pressure, if you've been told your blood pressure is getting too high, then measuring your blood pressure on a regular basis, so you don't have that whole white coat thing where somebody checks your blood pressure and it goes shooting up because you're terrified of what they're going to say. Measure and track your blood pressure. And if it looks to be getting towards the numbers that you've been told you want to stay away from, then at least you know, and you can do something about it. Are you a bit of a salt addict? Do you put salt on everything? Shake it on everything, put it in all your cooking. Is your food really salty? Is that something you're becoming aware of? And can you take steps? Well, you can, can't you, to start to change that? Now, when I'm coaching the ladies that I work with in my Move Over Menopause program, one of the very first things I get them to do, and they hate it, is measure their waist circumference, because there is a direct correlation between a woman's adipose fat, the fat we lay down around our waists, and the likelihood of diabetes, obesity, and ongoing heart problems. So don't just ignore it. If you know your trousers are getting tighter, if you know your waistbands are getting tighter, don't just think, I'll buy another pair and it's bigger. Think, what can I do? Not giving everything up. I'm just going to move more. I'm just going to walk more. I'm just going to. What can you do to start to change that? A Mediterranean diet has been proven by many people for it to be a fantastic thing for us to generally try and live by. Lots of green and red and yellow colourful veg, a right amount of balance of carbs and fats and plants. So a Mediterranean diet that's got nuts and seeds and oils all in it is a really good way to think about. So you can Google all sorts of ways to find out about more of a Mediterranean diet, or you can follow me. It's something I help the people I work with through all the time. But I think probably for many of us, one of the things that we kind of know all of that, and yeah, we're trying to do that. What about your stress? How stressed are you? How much do you let things get on top of you? Because we could offset that stress when we were in our 20s and 30s, and we can't now. It shows up, it pops up in little ways all over our body, in the amount you sleep, in the amount you eat, in the amount of health you have inside. So what can you do to reduce your stress? I don't have all the answers for you. I can help you find some of the answers if you get in touch, but I hope that's really helped you. So just to come back to the key, most important points are a man's symptoms of a heart attack are very, very different from a woman's. We don't automatically have this crushing chest pain radiating down your left arm. You're much, much more likely to have pain in your jaw and your back, belching, nauseous, anxiety, and insomnia. You've got any of those and you're worried that you're in the at-risk category, please go and ask for some help. I hope this has been helpful. Do head over to my website if you want to follow me, subscribe if you're watching this video on YouTube, and I'd love to see you again soon. Bye-bye.